A 10 Hut, and welcome to another edition of the Wednesday Works, hosted by yours truly, Nick Hines, the Sarge. Hope you're having a winning week wherever you may be out there in my racehorse land. It is a pleasure to be back on the heels of an incredible weekend. Indeed, it was with opening week Saratoga, opening week Del Mar, and the Del Mar weekend, which began with going to Vegas, who certainly did not disappoint at short odds for the My Racehorse shareholders, able to get back on the beam straight to the winner's circle for trainer Richard Baltus and Umberto Rispoli. And then to close out the weekend, the OG, the original gangster himself, Tiz Magician, with his fifth career win, now a multiple graded stakes winning son of Tiz Now. It's been a great year here for Tiz Magician in 2021, a beautifully timed ride from Flavien Prat. And of course, for trainer Richard Mandella, would like to also congratulate our partners in Spendthrift and with going to Vegas with Medallion Racing and Abo Danza. And, of course, in due time for Edge Racing, and a big salute going out to Joe Moran and the partners as well. On debut at Monmouth over the weekend, Sunday, in race 2, earning a 69 Beyer speed figure. Without further ado, we'd like to welcome in my friend and our West Coast racing manager, the racing manager of Edge Racing, Joe Moran. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Nick. Happy to be back. I feel like our schedule has been a little hit and miss with everything going on, been a little crazy, but happy to get back on the work show.
Yeah, it certainly has. And I'd like to thank each and every one of those that approached us personally over the weekend as we not only celebrated in the winner's circle at Del Mar, but of course the newly input in place there, the My Racehorse Lounge. Beautiful placing there. It was a gorgeous weekend. And I know that you were zigging and zagging left and right, but touch on it. How many shareholders do you think came out over the weekend for My Racehorse?
Wow, yeah, it's tough to give you a good answer. Between the 2 days of going to Vegas and Tiz Magician, we had events in a few different rooms from our new My Racehorse Lounge, which is awesome. It was the first opportunity I got to see it. But great lounge seating, great access to get right out and watch the races live, TVs to watch racing all over the country. But I would say throughout the weekend, we probably had to have close to 250 to 300 shareholders out there. Some people did their own thing. They have their own preference of sitting. Some people that came and joined the events. We had an experience weekend where some owners came out on Sunday as well. Jose Valdivia Jr. came out and spoke to those shareholders as well, which was some great insight. Got to meet some trainers throughout the weekend. So all in all, it's just an awesome weekend.
All right. And as many of you know, Daniel Drummond, Mara Zeman teaming in, Susan Ward, Donna, so many of those out there that absolutely are the best part of the My Racehorse experience. Keeping in mind, without you, there is no us. And we certainly enjoy not only the wins, but we endure the highs and lows in this game. And of course, the one thing that we can say is that when we do win, we celebrate. And that's exactly what we encountered this past weekend. All right, Joe, let's jump right into it. And as mentioned, prefacing it with Tiz Magician. And this has certainly been not only a fan favorite, but a shareholder favorite. One of the originals here on the My Racehorse platform, the Grade 3 Cougar II. He was dispatched at 30 cents on the dollar, and he certainly did not disappoint.
No, not at all. And I mean, he always was traveling beautifully in this race. I was sitting next to owner and CEO Michael Behrens during the race, and we felt pretty confident throughout. I'll say was one point throughout the race when second choice morning line, Cupid's Claw, did come along our side. I said, okay, well, it'll be interesting if we have that next gear to go on, and we'll get to that as they go around one more time. But once Flavien Prat asked his magician, he exploded. And one of my favorite parts in the post-race interview with trainer Richard Mandella, he's talked about the maturity of this horse and how he's got him to settle. When we started getting him with these elongated distances, the key was that he was able to get into that free running rhythm. Well, now he's been able to do that, but also settle off the pace like he did today versus wanting to have that lead and needing to have that lead. And I think that's been probably the most game-changing part to his overall performances.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we can all attest to the fact when a horse goes the additional route of ground, going 1.5 miles here, and he's proven here in 2021 as he had kind of hinted back in September of last year, and being the runner-up in the Grade 3 Tokyo City. It is interesting to see how horses develop and how they change. Now, granted, it's not as if Tiz Magician is that old. I mean, granted, he's only 4, but if you go back and watch the replay of the Grade 3 Tokyo City last year at Santa Anita, when Cupid's Claws won by 7+ lengths, you can definitely see the growth and development as Cupid's Claws engages. And again, as you attested to the fact that they've been able to put the draw reins on Tiz Magician. He's obviously and can be a handful, but he's smart enough to relax and come off of the bridle. But would you agree that this horse is only getting better, or do you feel that he has peaked?
Oh, no, I would say he's only coming to the top of his game right now. I don't think we've seen the best. And I think everyone that was there on site, when he walked into the paddock, yet alone got on the track, it was the best this horse has ever looked. He's always been a pretty horse. We've talked about it the last few months, how he's starting to not only grow up, but now he's starting to fill into himself, which has been the key, where he's really, balanced. And I would say the best is still to come. And I think you're seeing from this performance alone, he's just on the top of his game.
Yeah, no doubt. And, for a split second there, when Cupid's Claws came to him, we were like,
yeah.
We're in for a horse race. And indeed, it ended up being a horse race, but Tiz Magician proving out in the end that, he is certainly not only on his game, but I think some can make the argument that he likes the Del Mar Strip. As proven winning back in September. That was kind of a bust-out performance that set him back on the winning trek. And, he's earned now in excess of $427,000, multiple graded stakes winner. So in a nutshell, Joe, what would be the next step for Tiz Magician?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is not finalized at this point. Definitely think the Pacific Classic will be under consideration. The key is that is a cutback in distance. We've always obviously found a home for him going that 1.5-mile distance or even more. He's a horse that Richard Mandela thinks could run all day. So obviously the long-term goal is the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance Stakes, which is formerly known as the Breeders' Cup Marathon on Breeders' Cup Friday. That's the main goal target of a race. There's a few races in September, one at Belmont, one at Parks, that are going 1.5 miles plus to kind of give him that key. For the short term, like you said, he seems to have liked the Seaside Oval. His last 2 races are huge. He's at the top of his game, so it's going to be interesting if we give him a shot in that Pacific Classic. He's going to have to run the best race of his life, face the best horses, so it'll be an interesting test if we do go that route.
Yeah, and that particular race is slated for the 21st?
August 21st.
Okay.
Yep.
And $750,000 the TVG Pacific Classic. So will be fun to watch and see how that develops at 1.25 miles in distance, which I think is of not an issue cutting back 1/4 mile. But Tiz Magician, now 5 for 18 in a career, and once again, earning and co-topping a career best speed figure. So congratulations to the shareholders, and well done, Team Mandela, and of course to our partners at Spendthrift Farm. So let's stay here on the left coast as we proceed with our Wednesday work show. I want to remind you that this is an interactive show. So if you've got questions, feel free to post them up. And of course, our hostess with the mostest behind the curtain, if you will, producing this show, and one Hannah Bloom, she will be sure to provide that for us. In reference to, also want to congratulate you, Joe, on In Due Time on debut. Tremendous win for that son of Not This Time, and a congratulations going out to trainer Kelly Breen.
Yeah, no, awesome. I think all in all, probably we were all excited for the debut. First time out over a muddy track, breaking from the rail. There was always a little concerns, like we talked about with first time starters, but right when the gate opened, it was a small victory yet alone right there. To see him battle down the lane like that was pretty humbling and felt great to see. And to see that we purchased that horse in April, was able to get him right to the races as we did and get a win like that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was a great start to that young horse's career, and certainly giving us the indication that he will go further. Purchased out of the OBS April and training sale for $95,000, and of course going to Vegas. This was a race. I think personally we needed to see. Coming out of the effort last out, the grade one game, it wasn't a bad effort at 1.125 miles. And, Richard Baltus had indicated that, maybe she wants further at 1.25 miles, but she was right at home in that victory on July 16th, opening day. And I would have to say, Joe, that of all the winter circle extravaganzas I've seen, far and away the most people that I've ever seen in a small circle there. Probably need to build another winter circle if she were to come back and race there at the current stand.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, soon we're going to have to be taking it on the track like the Derby. So, it was pretty electric. Same with Tis Magician. It was an awesome turnout in that winter circle. I always get a kick of seeing Richard Mandela's face and the trainers' faces when the horse comes in the winter circle with that many people. So it was pretty awesome. Richard Baltus, the same thing. I remember I took a little video of him and I said, I've never seen a winter circle like this. So it's great to see, and the excitement of everyone's face running onto the track to get in there is what it's all about.
Yeah, she earned a 91 Beyer speed figure, which actually matched that of what we saw in the grade one Gamely here career best speed figure earned in 1.25 miles Santa Ana upon winning that grade 3 at Santa Anita in March. So there is a chance, from what I understand, that she would compete by meet's end. Is that right? Would that be the Clement Hirsch?
Well, that is dirt race. But
right.
There's a possibility of even
John Maybe.
John Maybe. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. That's on closing day. I believe closing day, this the 6th. But there's also a possibility we've talked about the Beverly D at Arlington, which gives her that extended distance as well. So ultimately, she came out of the race in good order. That's the most important part. We're going to see from a timing perspective what ultimately works best for her. The one thing, talking to Richard Baltus, she couldn't be doing any better. So in the grand scheme of things, timing-wise, shipping-wise, what works the best for her?
All right. Well, going to Vegas again, congratulations. A big weekend across the board, whether it was My Racehorse, Edge Racing. It's exciting. Young horses, old horses, and new. Graded stakes wins. Doesn't get much better than that. And that is the best way to kick off your meeting out here on the left coast at Del Mar. All right. As we transition into the works portion, of course, we're going to go east, and we're going to talk about.
Looks like we possibly may have just lost Nick here. And we were going to start with some workouts on the East Coast. And we're going to look, starting with Lady Valentine, I believe. So, Hannah, I'm going to kind of roll with this here. But we're going to look at, just kidding, we're going to start with Got Stormy. Got Stormy, she's going to be coming back in the 4-star Dave on August 14th. This was her most recent drill on July 16th, going a half mile over the Saratoga turf course. And this was a nice, easy maintenance move. Tyler Gaffleone was able to get on in this work, which was great. It's always a big advantage in our mind, definitely with an older mare like this. Tyler Gaffleone has known her best. He's been aboard her pretty much every start of her career, so it's always a huge advantage. And also, it looks like we do got Nick back in, so we'll get him back in here shortly. But as you can see, this was an easy maintenance move. We'll likely have 2 more works, possibly 3 before that race. But Nick, I don't know if you got a chance and want to add on anything here, but we're going over Got Stormy's most recent half-mile work under Tyler Gaffleone, half mile 49.93.
Yeah, I personally thought physically she looks great. Maintaining good flesh, seems to be hitting the ground sound. As I was trying to touch there on that grade 1 Yiper that we saw on June 5th at Belmont, just not thoroughly convinced she really cared for the strip all that much. And, I think if you get cut to the ground with an older mare like this, now granted, she's earned in excess of $2.1 million, seemingly doesn't need to take her track with her. I mean, she's won over half a dozen different racetracks. But at the end of the day, this was more of a maintenance drill for her. But the one thing that I'm happy to see is that she's added valuable weight and looks quite nice coat-wise. So tribute to Mark Cassie and his team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess one question that I would have, just to get your input as a trainer, and as you mentioned with the turf course and different, the way the turf course sets up, for example, in the Yiper being a good turf course that day. Now in her past, she's won over a good turf course. She's won over soft turf courses before. So how would you say for each horse, to explain to a lot of these shareholders how that correlates differently track to track, even though they both may be listed as good, how the tracks can be so different at each location?
In retrospect, I mean, the two services that she's won over that weren't labeled as firm were Keeneland and Kentucky Downs. And, again, it's really contingent upon how much sand is in a turf course to absorb the water. And it just visually, that day in which she ran in the Yiper, I knew pretty much immediately, I said, well, she's going to have her work cut out for her. Not to mention the fact that, when you look at the group, I mean, Casa Creed, having won that race, was certainly on the up and up.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy grade one.
No.
Some will argue the fact that she brought the back class to the table, that she was up to the task. But, turf horses and good, yielding, soft, they can be far and away different depending on the track. But for me personally, I think she has to get grip. I think if she were to be in a situation where there was cut to the ground, I'd be shocked if Mark were to pull the trigger and decide and move forward. So what is the specific date plan for her as far as that upcoming race?
That is August 14th. That's the 4-star Dave, which she was the winner in 2019, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. And, kind of like you said, the ultimate goal would be the Breeders' Cup this year in California for that firm turf ground that we know that she likes and had success over. So let's hope we get a dry turf course that day on August 14th.
All right, got stormy, and she'll have more breeze ups prior to getting into that 4-star Dave, and it definitely seems like the most logical spot, all things considered. And she's certainly going to have to get back on her game. I mean, her most recent performances have been subpar, but she's had, I think, some underlying excuse as well. All right, well, let's turn the page and stay east with a horse that I know that we have been waiting patiently for to see compete in the afternoons, and that's Psychedelic Shack. This horse, an $80,000 OBS and training purchase last year in July. He certainly caught my eye with a brisk move, breezing for that particular sale with a sharp gallop out. What's the latest on Psychedelic Shack, this non-starting or unraced son of Shackelford?
Yeah, well, he was entered today for a maiden special weight at Saratoga. Unfortunately, the race did not fill, so we are hopeful it will go possibly next week. So fingers crossed. I mean, he's been training very good. I would say each week he's progressively got better. He's had a few eye-catching workouts. I know even the clockers there at Saratoga have been impressed with him. So we're all excited. I know Christophe Clement's excited as well. And you could just see, I love seeing horses that look engaged in their works. And he's one of those horses that visually catches your eye, right? When he comes around this corner, you can see he wants to go. The rider's only allowing him to do so much, and he's doing it all on his own. And to me, I love seeing horses like that. Obviously, they got to be able to control it when it comes to race day as well. But he seems to have a good way of going about it.
Susan Ward, Psychedelic Shack of the Tail, as she affectionately calls him. Note here that Gallon a Rush, this horse is a 2-year-old, a $375,000 OBS March purchase for West Point Thoroughbreds in a partnership there. So this is a pretty good gauge, not to mention the fact that Psychedelic Shack had the quote-unquote exercise rider, while the teammate, Gallon a Rush, had Joel Rosario aboard. So, you're giving up race rider experience, not to mention weight. Not laying any claim on the rider that was aboard Psychedelic Shack because she's ultra fit. But I am pretty impressed with what we've seen from Psychedelic. As far as the workout here, as noted and dated on July 14th, this particular work was on the heels of a gate drill, 3 back, 3 removed, in which you went 1 minute and 3/5 from the gate. So evidently, Christophe Clement not feeling the need to come back and breeze him out of the gate, because I think he's a natural from the blocks.
Yeah, and we did have a video of that work. I can't remember if we covered it a few weeks back. I don't think we may have got to it, but he broke sharply. It was a solid breeze. So I would definitely say he had plenty of gate schooling. Karen Johnson has done a great job of getting those videos, of taking that process through when, the first few times he wasn't a professional, right? Kind of got a little warm. And he went through that process of learning, and by the time they came for that gate work, he shot out of there like a rocket.
Yeah, no, I'm quite pleased that with what we've seen, and obviously the time given, we gave him a bit of a break during the winter. to grow up. He didn't necessarily have anything majorly wrong with him. It was just what we deem many a time with these 2-year-olds, just having some growing pains and going through a growth spurt. But he's matured nicely, and I'm excited. And hopefully, I believe he'll be re-entered for next week. I was a little shocked that a maiden special weight race did not attain enough horses for the race to go at Saratoga, but it is what it is. I mean, we just saw Mo Mischief. By the way, big effort from Mo Mischief at Monmouth, and unfortunately didn't get moved up by disqualification. It's just kind of a strange weekend, all things considered, with the TVG Haskell to boot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I will definitely say he was interfered with. It does always, when you look at the rule book, right, it's kind of one of those tricky things. I think, if he would have ended up getting caught for third, I think it's a no-brainer. They got to DQ the winner, right, because it cost us a placing. When it came down to it, with the extended margin of victory, though it's debatable, right? It's kind of one of those things that, can you really say, did it cost us the win? And you would never know unless the race was rerun. But in the end, I think it could be a blessing in disguise, getting that first race back, allowing him to come back against maiden special weight company again, and then giving him that second prep before hopefully he breaks his maiden and go and faces winners. I think it would be asking a lot. First time off the bench, winning, going right into tougher competition. So, everything happens for a reason. Hopefully it's a blessing in disguise.
I would agree. I think that's perfectly put, Joe. Also want to mention Greg Peterson messaged in, said he can't wait to get to the My Racehorse Lounge. And I know there are some questions regarding tickets available. The tickets are available every day on the app. So if you're wanting to attend Del Mar, I personally was down over the weekend with my family, of course, not only celebrating the winner's circle, but having some time and spending it with you, Joe, along with Hannah, and of course, many other guests up there, including our chief in Michael Behrens. So the My Racehorse Lounge tickets, check it out on the app. And as it stands today, I know that they're going to start opening things up for grandstand admission. But who wants to be in the grandstand when you could be up at the My Racehorse Lounge? It's way better, much better.
True. Very true. Very true.
All right, moving on. As a Psychedelic Shack, I'm super excited. Physically looks great. I'd have to give him a solid B+ in that move, Joe. What say you?
Yeah, I can't disagree. I'm going to stick with B, but still, that's a solid thing. I like to keep the bar a little low. It's like the pizza reviews, right? If you start off so high, then what possibly beats that? So I'm going to give it a solid B right there.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn the page and let's stay on the East Coast. Lady Valentine, I know that she's been entered for Saturday, and thankfully that race split, and she didn't oversubscribe, and she was able to get in. And I'll touch on position there, but talk to me about this move that we are seeing. And again, I want to thank Karen Johnson and the entire staff for trainer Todd Pletcher. Not easy getting video and making it quality to boot. But Lady Valentine, this workout took place, what day are we looking at here?
July 16th. So 6 days ago. It was a 5/8 breeze, and now it's going around the dog. So for a time perspective, it was just about 105 flat.
On grass. Okay.
On grass. Correct.
Yep.
On grass. And you'll see she travels great throughout the whole way. When we get to the gallop out, you'll notice there was sound on this video. Trainer Todd Pletcher actually instructed his exercise rider he gave the rider the okay to gallop out. I think there was a little miscommunication where he almost didn't let her gallop out, but you'll notice when the company finally catches up, you'll see her re-engage and kind of take off again. So I like to see that, but you see her ears prick just going easy down the lane. And then here you'll see on the gallop out, you'll see what I'm talking about. But that workmate on the outside will come alongside, and then you'll see Lady Valentine kind of take off again. But you could see she's coming into a good Todd's kind of always talked about the turf with her, even prior to us giving her some time off as a 2-year-old. It's something he always mentioned. Into Mischief's run over anything. So I think it's something that she'll handle. And I think the added distance is going to be the ultimate key for her.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think if we go back and talk about the debut, by the way, race 2, Saturday, July 24th, approximate post time 1:41 Eastern. So 10:41 out on the left coast and 12:40 Central. I don't believe we have the ability to have a watch party, but as soon as the results are up and we're able to post a replay, indeed we will. So race 2, and she has drawn what post has she drawn? Post 5.
And
Luis Saez in the irons. He was aboard for the debut. that was the event in which Equal Pay took that awkward step and unseated Irad Ortiz Jr. So, when you mentioned pedigree, she is out of a hard spun mare. I think immediately, Joe, you and I would kind of point out the fact that hard spun has been quite adept with turf types. So the mother, she tried turf 6 times. 2 of her 3 career victories were on grass. So I think that bodes well for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's anything else to say, but that's definitely a positive right there.
Yeah, so that race ended up splitting. The other race ended up being, when I say a split, what happens is a race oversubscribes, and they can't race 16 or 18 on a turf course. So what they did, they did the split. So it's races 2 and 9 on the card Saturday. So for some of you that are tuned in today, perhaps do some homework and do a compare and contrast, win, lose, or draw. I feel great about her chances, but she's likely going to be second, maybe third choice. There are a couple of horses in there that certainly look to be sitting on go. And but we know that she'll be getting the My Racehorse betting support at the window. So likely she's going to be closer to say 5-2 or 2-1.
Yeah, no doubt. But as long as we're in the winner's circle, it doesn't matter what the odds are.
I agree with you 1,000%. So, Lady Valentine off the debut on June 3rd. I like the timing, roughly 7 weeks in between. And Todd Pletcher excels maiden second-time starters, winning it to 24%. And as you touched on, the Tomlinson rating for Into Mischief, 392 on grass, which she'll be getting my hard-earned $2. So, yes. Daniel Drummond, so much to look forward to. Can you feel it? It's starting to percolate a little bit. Things are starting to hopefully trying to match up just in time for a sharp run toward the Breeders' Cup Championships the first week of November. Joe, I wanted you to perhaps touch on a couple of things here before we go forward. Man Among Men and a Search Engine, are they and have they become available yet on the My Racehorse platform?
Yeah, so Man Among Men is sold out, so he is no longer available.
Okay.
And Search Engine, yes, that was formerly known as Coca-Cola 19, the flatter colt purchased at OBS April. I believe he is still available on the site, can be purchased right there on that link below. So take a look, myracehorse.com. You'll hit that buy button. It'll take you right there to see all of our available offerings.
All right. Well, be sure to check that out if you got questions in reference to that. And speaking of Search Engine, the newly named Search Engine, son of Flatter, out of the mare Coca-Cola. And many of you, I'm sure, are aware of the sister who has done some great things on the racetrack, namely in recent months. This was quite a timely acquisition for us, by the way. And speaking of Search Results, who ran a too good to get beat in the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks, beating a neck. She's only a neck away from being unbeaten. She is a Grade 1 winning daughter of Flatter and a full sibling to Search Engine. And there he is.
Yeah. And I mean, I can only can't wait to hear that name getting called down the stretch. Great name, right? And you just think, for me, the first person that I think of calling that name is Trevor Denman, but I could just think of some great calls with Search Engine coming down the stretch. So all in all, we're going to take a look at his most recent half-mile work. And everything, I think we'll say this was probably his best work. And I think you're going to see Tom Amoss, one of the things he mentioned, he's a 2-year-old that's growing. He's got big size. And I think the key is that they gave him a little more time in between each works, right? Just to help him keep that weight on. And I think that's going to show improvement here. And I think you see it in this work. And I think you're going to see it in those future works coming up. But he's one beautiful looking horse. I know it's one horse that we both saw at OBS that he's one of those horses that immediately catches your eye, right? You see him, he has a presence about him. And for us, that's a huge thing, that first impression with the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the hardest question. We often get asked, who is the horse you're most looking forward to? And it's really not a fair question because, so many of these horses have their strengths and may have their weaknesses. But with this particular individual, he was purchased for a hefty sum. And fortunately, we were able to team up in a partnership with him. The one thing that I've noticed is that he's developed quite extensively since that April sale. So when you look at this work, I know that Tom Amoss, there are questions. Why wouldn't this horse be up at Saratoga? Do note that he's been breezing at Keeneland, which I, as a former trainer, appreciate, because the one thing about the track up at Saratoga, it could be a bit more demanding, especially for a young horse such as this. And really, at the end of the day, what's the hurry? I think that as much as we want to win tomorrow, when you look at the grand scheme of things, I mean, we got a horse that was purchased for $625,000 and done in a partnership. But I thought physically he looked great in that move, but he's changed quite a bit. I mean, he was already a scopy individual with size, but I think he looks great. But you can see the time has done him some good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you could just see passing the finish line right there, he was under what we'll call a big hold, right? And that rider wasn't even moving. So, just a horse that you see doing it the right way, and that's the key for me. So hopefully each week just continues to progress. He's a young horse. You'll see these horses change so much in a week, 2 week, 3 week span. And I think you're seeing it with this horse as well.
All right. Well, folks, search engine, he's available on the My Racehorse platform. So be sure to check him out. Big dreams ahead for a horse that certainly already has the pedigree. If he can dance the dance, much like his full sister has, then we're on to big things with the strapping, gorgeous individual son of Flatter. And for those that had essentially likened him to Coca-Cola, now you know the name is Search Engine, and I absolutely love the name, and I think he's aptly named in that. Welby Cox teaming in, and Joy McReynolds. Only horse ever bought extra on. Well, that's it's nice. Ice cream sundae, put a little cherry on top. That'll work. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on here with our Wednesday work show. And once again, if you've got questions, there'll be a moment toward the tail end of our live show today for either Joe or myself or both of us to answer. But let's go west, young man, as they say, to the left coast. Let's get started with Infinite Empire. That would be the first horse up on the docket. And Joe, being out here on the left coast, I know that you've had an opportunity first and foremost to see this one.
Yeah, you'll see here. I know you're seeing it listed as a half-mile drill in 50 and 1, but in the end, this was a 102 work. Both horses will gallop out past the wire together. She is on the inside with the light blue T-shirt under Austin Solis. And this horse right here, this filly, you've seen her, as I was talking about, these young horses change. In my mind, she's been that most improved player, right? She has just grown up, matured a lot. Coming from that Empire Maker line, you can see them mentally sometimes need a little extra time. Trainer Richard Mandela has messed around with the blinkers with her, put her in a whole bunch of different situations, and she has put all the pieces together, in my opinion. I don't think she's far away at all. I think we're going to probably look, talking to assistant trainer Gary Mandela earlier this week, she'll probably be ready come early August, that end of that first condition book. If not, it's going to be shortly after that. But a filly that's progressed a bunch. She's had gate works, and so far everything's doing very well with her.
In watching this workout, the one thing that comes to mind, her mother ended up being a turfier type. I mean, granted, she did win one race over the main track, was an entry-level allowance at Aqueduct, and the mother was trained by Shiv McGahee. She herself was out of the Tail of the Cat near My Trusty Cat. With the Empire Makers, they certainly tend to give the impression they want to go further. Of course, the sire ended up being a Belmont winner. Do you see turf in this stride, or do you see a horse that could be dirt viable?
Yeah, I think she'll be dirt viable. I mean, everything that I've seen from her working over the Del Mar surface and the Santa Anita surface, I've never once said, this is a horse that would need the turf. We're going to get to a horse later on, Man Among Men, where he's a horse that seems just like he'll be a lot more comfortable on the turf. But I don't get the vibe from this filly. I think she'll be one that'll be versatile enough to do both. And I think she's shown that in each and every work.
All right. And as far as I always like to mention the workmate. It's much like having a sparring partner out there that, look, if the sparring partner has some credential, but that also is a non-starter. This is a product of a ghost sapper out of the Macho Uno mare, Potesta. So another 2-year-old filly in her reach there. And by the way, Infinite Empire was a $360,000 Keeneland September yearling purchase. But it looks to me on paper as if Wicked could be nearing a debut as well. And she herself was a $120,000 RNA. So it'll be interesting to see if she shows up before Infinite Empire, and maybe could give us a little bit of a yardstick as to what we may expect. So based on the work, based on the visual, what grade would you give Infinite Empire?
I'm going to stick with the B there. I don't think she was asked, talking to the Mandelas, they said it was more of a maintenance move. It was her first move over the Del Mar track. So they let her go a little bit on the easier side. But I would still give it a solid B. I think she stuck to her task. I know it can be a little cliche, but everyone seems the gallop out is key for me, especially with these young horses. She's competitive. She likes her job. She doesn't like another horse to head her. And that's a big thing for me.
All right. Well, I think that's good. I like that. I think that she seems rather determined in her movement there. Man Among Men. You talked about this horse, and the one thing that I think we all can agree that he certainly appears to be turfy. Am I right in that assessment?
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. I mean, War Front, out of an Irish bred mare. Like he is, that's reigning from the late great Galileo, which was some very sad news not too long ago. But I would say that we have a lot of turf future in this horse. The big key is going to be, does this horse want to sprint? Does this horse want to route? And I think that's the big conversation going on with Team Mandela. So we originally, when we kind of first got a work or a race target, it was the mile turf race on July 31st. Then we kind of switched of giving him a race, going 5/8 on the turf. I think the more we see him work, and you'll see here today, I mean, from a fitness standpoint, this horse is probably the most ahead of the game. He's got a steady stride to him. So when you see him work, kind of has this one pace, a big, long stride to him. I think we all know in his future, 2 turns is probably going to be the biggest thing to his future. So I think for the short term, it's not decided yet. We're going to see. I know we've released that the race we are targeting are the 29th. Through my most recent conversations with Team Mandela, I know they are kind of debating a little bit about possibly debuting him 2 turns. And then the biggest question would be, is he ready to debut 2 turns, next week, or should we wait for condition book 2? So that's going to be the ultimate conversation over the next week or so. And we'll have that information out to everybody.
Shout out to Valerie. She's a big fan. And, of course, a Man Among Men, a horse that you would only think could get better and should get better with age and experience. And I really must say that how Team Mandela has handled this one, because wouldn't you say there are a lot of trainers when they've got a War Front out of the Galileo mare, they would even consider running this horse as a 2-year-old?
Yeah, or at least –
right.
Go ahead. You want to finish?
No, I think the key would be that they would essentially put him away until they're 3. But I appreciate the fact that you have a Hall of Fame trainer that's bringing this horse along.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess it would kind of even surprise me a little bit, right? When he came right in, he was a horse when he was at King's Equine with Raoul, who was always ahead of the game, right? So he's kind of been that horse mentally, physically that's been ahead of the 8 ball. And I think that's what allowed them to bring him in and have the confidence to go right on. And, when he was first with Richard Mandela, he was kind of getting a feel for him. You saw Richard mix up his workout pattern. Some days he would have 10 days between work. Some days it would be 8. Some days it would be 6. And he was just really getting the feel with him. And he hasn't missed a beat since he's got in. So, I mean, I've preached a lot about Richard Mandela, but he truly is a Hall of Famer for a reason.
All right. As we watch the move from Man Among Men, and you mentioned a possible debut at the end of the month.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, we have the 29th and also the 31st. So the 29th is a sprint going 5 furlongs on the turf. The 31st is a mile. If we do go a mile, there's a possibility you could say, do we want to give him a couple works and point to condition book 2? The one thing I'll say, he just had a 3/4 work under him. So I'd say he's ahead of the 8 ball, and one of those races is likely at the end of the month.
I like it. It's nice to have options and look forward to his debut. All right, we stay with Team Mandela. We stay here on the left coast, and next up on the docket, a son of American Pharaoh in Forbidden Kingdom. And this is a horse that was purchased at the Fasig-Tipton Select last year, and purchased for $300,000 in a partnership with Spendthrift Farm. What is the latest on Forbidden Kingdom? Recent workout, 1:05 on paper, July 15th, and we are going to pull up his work from that day. How can you not be excited about this one?
Yeah, he's one of those horses. I remember couple weeks ago, or no, it was actually this work. Richard Mandela, he was sitting a couple rows behind me, and immediately I just kind of turned around and looked at him, and we both gave each other the look, like, that was the real deal. Assistant trainer Gary Mandela, he was on the clock, and what he said was, from when this horse, you'll see the work continues a furlong past the wire, and the horse then even continues another furlong to the 3/4 pole around the turn. And Gary Mandela had him clocked out in 13-2 from the 7/8 to the 3/4 pole. And he said for a 2-year-old over this Del Mar track at this time of the season was pretty impressive. And you can see exercise rider Nestor. I mean, he almost has a snug hold where you see that rider on the outside urging that horse along. And trainer Richard Mandela said this is not a bad horse on the outside. He's a Calibred, but he's a talented horse with some ability. So this horse has caught our eye from the get-go, and he's doing everything right. So we have a race slotted August 1st, and knock on wood, everything continues well from now till then. But he's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm super geeked up about this one. He was a horse that at the sale, as both you, myself, and of course Joe Mishak, when we had the opportunity, when we were putting our list together, and of course when the committee sat down, you're excited about getting all of the horses that we would agree upon. But this is a horse for me that, because of the time, and even still today, many feel that American Pharoah tends to produce more of a turfier type. But I think we all felt, and along with Ned Toffee from Spendthrift, that this horse certainly gives you off a dirt vibe out of the mare Just Louise by 5 Star Day. And 5 Star Day was a champion sprinter in his own right. And she incidentally was a grade 3 winner at the age of 2, was the mother when in training for Dale Romans, which is quite exciting, I must add. All right, moving on, and looking forward to Forbidden Kingdom. The best way to start the month of August is certainly on my radar. Sacred Beauty, as we stay here on the left coast, and Sacred Beauty, this is a horse by Classic Empire out of the mare Consecrate by Pulpit that, it's been, for me, it's kind of been a game of inches with her. And I feel almost as if she plays her cards close to her vest in Sacred Beauty. I don't think we're going to see the real Sacred Beauty until she gets out there in the starting gate. She was an $80,000 Keeneland September yearling last year, and this is her most recent workout on July 18th.
Yeah, so trainer Dan Blacker had this work going a half mile, 47 and change, out in 102, as you see with the final time. This was the first work that trainer Dan Blacker put the blinkers on her, which definitely helped her focus up. Now, the one thing I'll say, she's not the biggest sort, right? She's a little made compact. She's not the biggest thing out there, but she tries very hard. And Dan will tell you, she has a cool way about her. She's a little bit on the laid back side. She doesn't really cause any headaches or anything like that. But she has that competitiveness with her when she gets on the track. So, I would say, again, with a horse like this, we're not far away having this work out of the gate. This was, I believe, her 3rd work out of the gate. She's just about ready to roll. There's a few options early August as well for her that I think we're going to target.
Let's talk to me about the process with her, though, and where she is. Obviously, she's had better than 7 workouts, 8 official. She has 2 gate drills that she's shown thus far. Classic Empire, he's done outstanding. He's 28% with a first-time starter. Is she a horse that you think would do better going further? Looking at her mother, she did break her maiden going a mile at Santa Anita at the age of 3 and went on to become an Oaks winner at Northlands Park. So would you consider her as one that might be better going the 2-turn game based on what you're seeing physically and on workouts?
Possibly. I think the biggest thing for me to go against that would be her size, right? And maybe it's just a maturity thing. She's young. She's a 2-year-old. Now, in the future, do I see her doing that? Absolutely. Today, do I see her starting up in the starting gate going a mile? No, I don't. I feel like she's one that's going to improve with racing, that she needs to get in that starting gate, get that race experience. You'll still see, even when her work, she broke out of the gate with the blinkers, she was keen to go, right? So now when she has 5, 6, 7 other horses next to her, how is she going to react to that? Is she going to be able to settle sprinting and all things of that nature? So I think a lot will come with racing with her.
All right. Well done to Dan Blacker to get her to this point. Of course, Team Mandela, it continues to be an exciting run with that particular camp on the heels of the Tiz Magician winning the Grade 3 Cougar the second. All right, Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm not going to put myself on the spot.
Okay.
And let's first of all talk about a couple of others as we move forward. That's it for the workouts on video. But talk to me about LaForgia. I know that there have been questions coming in there. What's the latest and greatest on LaForgia?
Yeah, so LaForgia had what we'll call the start of shins. This is probably one of the most common setbacks with 2-year-olds, right? When we talked about psychedelic shack, same thing now. By no means this horse did not shin buck, but he was getting on to a little sensitivity in his shin. So he's a big strapping 2-year-old. We think this horse has a lot of ability. Richard Mandela is very high on him. So what's the best course of action? Get ahead of it now, back off before you push him and prevent a longer setback versus giving him the time now. So what we decided to do, send him to Bonnie Acres in Hemet, California, where they have the hydro horse. They're one of the first in California to have an underwater treadmill. It allows him to not completely back off in his training and lose fitness, where he can get on that underwater treadmill. The general program for Team Mandela is 30 days there. And then they go to Julie Stack's farm, where they'll jog and have a light gallop at her arena up there, and then come back into the track. So I'll say from an ultimate standpoint, we'll see what Team Mandela does once he completes the 30 days at Bonnie Acres. But it'll likely be 30 days or 60 days total between Bonnie Acres, Julie Stack's, and then we'll probably see him come right when they return back to Santa Anita. That would be my best guess right now.
All right, no issues whatsoever when giving a horse of his magnitude. And he's one of those that, obviously has gone through a nice growth spurt. He's already got plenty of scope, but mentally, the time will certainly help him mature as well. Collusion, illusion. We did not have a work this week to show, but I know that he had a recent workout. What were your thoughts, and what's the latest on collusion, illusion?
Yeah, so he had a most serious work to date, going 5/8 and 58 and change under jockey and Flavian Pratt. So he is on target for the Bing Crosby. We did consider, mainly from a fitness standpoint, right, going into a grade 1 of that stature, the competition that he's going to face. That was really his first major work. We knew we were going to be at a little bit of a time crunch from the get-go. But the horse is doing so good. He's run fresh off a layoff before, and I think you're going to see him fire again. He's undefeated on this track. So from a workout standpoint, I would give it a solid BB+. He may have got a touch tired, but working 58 over that track, you kind of have to expect that when it was that early in his workout, or fitness levels of work. So from here, he'll have one more work on Saturday. And that will be his final prep for the Bing Crosby. And, the key for him, what we've always talked about, is hopefully that outside draw, right? As we saw in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, that inside post. He's not a horse that loves dirt in his face at all. So hopefully the field size comes up a little on the shorter end, which we kind of expect. And if we can get an outside post there, I think you're going to see him fire off the break.
All right. Well, that'll be exciting to see a collusion illusion back in the starting gate. And Chris Grabowski says, "Hey, fellas, why do we have run-ups in races?" In a nutshell, I think a lot of it just has to do with gate placement and rail placement if a race were to be on the turf course, and to try and, less compromise the clocking process. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Joe?
No, I think that covered it there. It's always kind of an interesting thing, and different tracks have different run-up distances. It's kind of one of those things I don't think is a clear one answer or one way answer, to be honest with you.
All right, Joe, I'm gonna put you on the spot because we've had multiple questions coming in reference to the bundle, the Keeneland bundle. Was that the Future Stars bundle?
The Future Stars bundle.
Hoorah! All right, talk to me. Do you have a particular favorite?
Ooh, that is tough. Well, I have to be a homer, right? Because I see these horses on a daily basis. So I have to stick with someone in SoCal. It would probably be between one of the workers that we saw today, between Infinite Empire and Man Among Men. And it'll probably surprise some people. And I'll just say, because I love seeing her develop so much. And maybe she didn't quite catch my eye on day one as much as she had now. And I'll probably give it to Infinite Empire. There's something about her that I don't know. She was one of those. Maybe call her an overachiever. In my mind, I just didn't think she was going to be ready for this early on. Watching her and to see her grow up and develop, it's made me pretty excited to see her get going.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think ultimately at the end of the day, I'm very curious when it comes to that. I don't have a personal favorite. Obviously, if Kingdom was purchased out of the Phasey Tipton sale, I'm most excited for his debut. But I will say, can't hush this. I think my biggest thing is the curiosity and how this horse develops. The son of Not This Time out of Awe Hush. I mean, knowing the success that we've had, Joe, with Yes This Time and now In Due Time, how can I not be excited for a son of Not This Time and Can't Hush This? Makes sense.
I mean, anything out of Not This Time right now, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I've been following him obviously a lot due to Yes This Time and In Due Time with the Edge program. But really to see that statistic of a horse that's been, really third crop and win at 28% with first time starters is truly incredible. They run on the turf, they run on the dirt, they run on synthetic, they run on off tracks, route, sprint. He's a pretty dynamic and versatile stallion. It's hard to complain with any offspring with him. We also have Race Hunter 19. I believe their share is still available in him, purchased at the OBS April sale. So another one that's exciting by Not This Time.
All right. Well, I tell you, there's so much that we can continue to discuss. Probably could make this a 2-hour show, if you will. But I want to thank you, Joe, and of course our producer Hannah Bloom for again doing a sensational job, being able to put this show together in a proper format, and your hard work does not go unnoticed. So this weekend. Unfortunately, we didn't get to American Era, Psychedelic Shack in, as those races were not subscribed. But I understand the American Era race has been brought back for Sunday. Mm-hmm. But don't forget Lady Valentine. She will look to graduate. Let's hope she can and will come Saturday, July 24th, race 2 on the card, approximate post time 1:41 Eastern. And she's drawn up nicely under Luis Saez for Todd Pletcher in a partnership with Spendthrift Farm. On behalf of Joe Moran, this is Nick Hines saying thanks for tuning in to today's Wednesday Work Show. Appreciate each and every one of you who took your time out of this special day. Until next time, we'll see you in the winner's circle.